so my name's Amy. I am a 21-year-old student studying wildlife conservation and environmental management at University, and I'm in my third year on placement with the GWCT at their Scottish demonstration farm Knocknairn, which is where we are right now. My placement's nearly coming to an end. My last day's middle of August, and I've been here since the beginning of September last year. So on placement, we're doing all sorts of conservation work, all sorts of ecology work. It's been really interesting learning about different things, particularly birds and bird life. Here at Knocknairn we have a fantastic wader population. That's due mainly to fantastic conditions. We think must be high invertebrate content in the soils. We also have a predator monitoring, predator control program to help boost wader populations, and it works. They're doing really well. So it's been really interesting being exposed to different areas of life that I otherwise wouldn't have known about.
Yeah, so my name's Max Wright, I'm 24 years old, and I've just been completing my Masters with the University of Brighton. I'm now a research assistant with the Trust at the farm here. So I've always been really passionate about wildlife and conservation from a really young age, and going to university I decided that was really the path I wanted to go down. I wanted to help the natural world where I could, and ultimately that led me to come into the farm as a placement student back in 2019. So we had an independent audit done in 2018 to judge how many rabbits we actually had on the farm. And the number they came to was an estimated figure of about 20,000 rabbits, and for what is roughly a 500 hectare farm, I mean, it's just an enormous overpopulation, and the grazing pressure is just extreme. And I mean, you can see here the damage they do in the erosion. So we've tried fencing them in, we've tried fencing them out, we use rabbit netting, we use really good rabbit netting and really good fencing, and they will just still get through it like it's nothing. So that you have to use the drop boxes to just try and bring some of that grazing pressure down. Okay, so here's a trap here I can show you. And what it is, it's essentially just a trap door. It's very sort of low tech, there's nothing fancy to it. So you can see it's just a little run. And then when it's deactivated, the rock just stays on there, just the weight, so that the trap doesn't move. So they get used to running through this tunnel. And then when you want it activated, you move that off, and that stops them from digging holes through the tunnel because they have holes through the fence because they have an easier route through the tunnel. And then that's the activated box. So then we can leave that and then check it tomorrow and see how many we've got in it. And then basically what happens is those rabbits, the best ones we keep for ourselves for food, and then the others we store, we freeze, and we put them all into they go down south into a golden eagle reintroduction project, and to help recover that species. So it's a really nice system where they're all it kind of works and there's no wastage. Yeah, so this is another hole here we're going to have to block. I mean, it's just constant. We've got the fencing in and we've got the drop boxes, but they're constantly able to dig through, and just with the ground being what it is, this sort of sandy glacial deposits thing, just burrow through with no issues at all. And with the drop boxes there, for the mitigation to work, you kind of have to constantly work on these, and it's not even improving, it's just maintaining, just trying to constantly block holes, constantly repair. And if you don't, just whatever you're trying to do in the field, whether it's, in some places it might be planting wildflowers, it's just not going to work, it's not going to grow, because you can't mitigate for the amount of grazing pressure.
So here at Knocknairn we have lots of different feeders throughout the farm. We have our songbird, wild bird mix to help boost the populations through the winter months, and we have our game bird mix to help boost our wild game bird population. We have a good number of wild game birds here. We run a very small scale shoot to help fund our predator control program that we run here. It's a really useful way of being able to pay for predator control to help benefit the wider species, the wider biodiversity. In particular, our songbird mixes here, they benefit in this area yellowhammers, which have been in decline in the UK since 1960, and we've lost about 56% of the populations. So it's really positive to see that they're doing so well here. When I went to university, I actually decided I wanted to try going vegan, mainly for ethical reasons. I just made the decision on my own that actually eating farm beef didn't align with what my ethics are. So I phased everything out animal products wise. I never really had an opinion on shooting till I came to the GWCT because it was never a part of my upbringing. So I came here basically like a clean slate, and I've built my opinions on a very balanced argument of what I've learned, what I've read, and I'm fully in support of shooting with conservation, and yeah, it's a very important part of it. I'm currently working towards my DSC1, which I've got coming up next week, and so ethically, I think that the animals, by controlling them, you are giving the wider population a better quality of life. So in my mind, that aligns with my ethics. Also with killing them, ethically, I know that I'm doing it, I'm comfortable with it. Don't enjoy it by any means, but I'm comfortable doing it, and they're having a quick death. And it's the most locally sourced, naturally produced food you can imagine eating. So it just sits right with everything I believe in. And I've come to the conclusion that anything I kill, and as long as I'm happy killing it, then I'll eat it. So, yeah.
Basically, in my time at university, I'd started kind of almost subconsciously slowly eating less meat, and the more I sort of read and the more I looked into it, the more I wanted to be really aware where my food came from. And so that led me to kind of becoming a vegetarian, because I couldn't guarantee where the meat I was eating was coming from. I couldn't guarantee sort of the welfare standards or the environmental standards that were being seen there. You know, it was very hard for me to do, so I stopped eating meat altogether. And then coming to the farm in 2019 as a student that was going vegetarian, and then suddenly seeing that there was all this amazing sort of game and wild produce, and then ultimately seeing the drop boxes being run, and it was, you know, unbelievably ethical. It was just, you know, it was a perfect system, and there was, you know, no waste to it. And I just saw that, you know, actually this was important. It was part of wider landscape management. It was to the benefit of species around it. You know, the grazing pressure here from the rabbits is so extreme that they have to be controlled. And then to have that go back into the food chain for myself, it's a really, really nice process. It's really circular, and I think it should be an emotive thing, and there should be that connection with where your food comes from. And it's easy to be very distant from where your food comes from, and having that reconnection is really important, and I've massively benefited from that.
I mean, I started out doing, you know, born and brought up vegetarian, got into the conservation side of things, still veggie until I was about 18, and I was volunteering for GWCT Scotland at the time, and my line manager and I had a sort of just one of those throwaway discussions about starting to eat meat, and I said, well, you know, if I'm going to do it, I quite fancy being able to do it field to fork. Can I actually take that process all the way through? Because that was like that accountability side of things was important for me. Didn't think anything more of it. And he said, well, we'll take you out stalking if you want. And that was kind of it. We went from there and went out to the hill, and that was fine. No, I mean, I came to Auchnaran first time years ago now, and did some of the sort of first surveys when the place got taken on, which is quite nice to come back and have a nosy around again. Like, what other work is kind of ongoing here at the moment?
We do lots of surveys of our breeding birds and our winter birds, and it's really nice that Auchnaran supports a really wide range of red list species. The dawn chorus is predominantly red list.
I think it's that thing where there's like multiple benefits to management. Again, that's how you're choosing to manage this area. It's not just about what you're taking away in terms of like the predation, but actually what gets put back in because of that management choice that you're making. That's quite cool.
I think it's a balance, isn't it? It's wanting to have a balance to your ecosystem. You don't want just generalist predators. You don't want just, you know, a ton of one species. You want to have a mix and healthy, you know, functioning ecosystem.
I was thinking about it, the thought of like only hearing curlew on a YouTube video, like ever again. It's just like the most upsetting thought.
It's just dystopian, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, everybody gets sort of, you know, rightly so upset about gorillas and orangutans and things like that in the, you know, in the rainforest. But you think we've actually got a species emergency right on our doorstep. They just happen to be a bit sort of brown and, you know, not very exciting if you don't know about them. I think the thing with like being involved in the wildlife management and land management kind of debate is that no matter, like you said, no matter what kind of management style you're doing, whether it's sort of, you know, quite involved farming or, you know, deer or grouse or crofting or rewilding, which, you know, and rewilding, whether that's kind of completely hands off or you're actively managing things like deer, it's all the choice.
Yeah.
You know, so, and all those choices have consequences, like you say, whether it's a natural kind of build-up of a population and then they die off, or you're making the choice ahead of time to cull deer, for example. It's always going to be my kind of go-to topic. Or whether it's, you know, like foxes for wader management and things like that. Yeah, you're having to make that choice, really, and it's being aware of that.
With nature, it always comes back to balance.
Yeah.
And I think having an appreciation and an understanding of that, and I think that should also feed back into how we sort of approach landscape management, how we approach conversations with people. You know, I think we touched on it earlier. It's really important, I think, to have difficult conversations and to question things.
Yeah.
Go and talk to people that you might not always agree with, and I think you'll learn something.
Absolutely.